What made you go out of your way to confront the legal system? I used to think lawsuits were for dramatic people. You know, those types who run to court over a barking dog or a fence 2 inches over the property line. I figured that as long as no one's bleeding and the world's still spinning, you just deal with things and move on. That changed last winter. I was renting a duplex in a small town with my 2 kids, 8 and 6. The place was old but charming. The kind of house where the floors creak a little and the windows fog up on cold mornings. It wasn't perfect, but it was home. Until the furnace broke. It was early January, and the temperature outside had dropped to 12 degrees Celsius. One morning I noticed the house wasn't warming up. I checked the thermostat, 53 degrees inside and falling. I called my landlord immediately. He said he'd look into it. That was at 7 a.m. By 6 p.m. Nothing had changed. No repairman, no update. Just my kids curled up under 3 blankets, watching TV in their winter coats. The next day, I called again, and again the next. Each time, he gave me some excuse. The repairman was busy, the part hadn't arrived, maybe it was my fault for not maintaining the thermostat. By day 4, it was 41 degrees inside. My youngest had a nosebleed that wouldn't stop. My oldest developed a cough. We were sleeping in one room with a space heater I borrowed from a neighbor. I boiled water just to get a little moisture in the air. That's when something in me snapped. I wasn't just cold anymore. I was furious. Furious that my kids were shivering in their own home. Furious that I was paying full rent while this man sat in his warm office ignoring us. So I started making calls. I documented everything. Text messages, timestamps of phone calls, photos of our thermostat, and my kids bundled up like we were living in an icebox. Then I went down to the local courthouse and filed a constructive eviction claim. I didn't even know what that meant 2 days earlier. Now I was citing local housing codes like I had a law degree. I got in touch with legal aid, who helped me write a formal complaint. I even called the local news station, who, to my surprise, actually sent someone to check out the house. Funny how fast things change when a reporter's knocking on your door. By the end of the week, the furnace was fixed. Not replaced, just temporarily patched. But I wasn't done. I took my landlord to court. He tried to claim I'd never reported the issue. I showed timestamps. He said it was minor discomfort, not a real emergency. I had photos of my kids in gloves under blankets and a signed note from my pediatrician stating my youngest developed bronchitis from prolonged cold exposure. The judge didn't even blink. I was awarded 2 months of rent back and allowed to break the lease without penalty. The landlord had to pay court costs and was slapped with a city citation for code violations. I moved out 2 weeks later and found a better place. Warmer, safer. And for the first time, I actually felt like I'd protected my kids in the way they deserved. So yeah, I used to think legal action was for people with too much time or a grudge to settle. Now I know better. Sometimes the only way to do right by the people you love is to take a fight where it needs to go, even if that means stepping into a courtroom.